All right, we ready to go? We don't have a minion yet.
I mean, we're definitely ready to go.
I mean, look, Gershon's even on already, so the other people have no excuse. It's still Shabbos by Gershon, and he's on.
Yeah, true. All right. Okay, so we're on Chaf Daled Aleph.
Yeah.
So the last Amud, which was a short Amud, so we were discussing the stira and Abaya. That Abaya says that meir is chayish for misa, and in another place it seems like Abaya is not chayish for misa. I mean that meir is chayish that a person may die, or we had a stira in whether Abaya holds that meir holds that we're chayish for death or not. So we answered the stira by saying we switched the shitas. Well, the Lamaisa, there's a stira in Meir and there's a stira from Psak from Rabbi Yehuda. Right? Because by wine, right? We were talking about making the wine, taking off Trumas and Maisis of wine on Friday night. So we said Meir is not afraid that the barrel of wine or whatever it is, the flask of wine is going to break open on Shabbos and it's going to spill out. Right? But by sukka, we're afraid that the animal is going to die. So are we chayshid for abnormal things to happen or not? So in Meir itself, how come by the flask of wine, Meir is not concerned that the flask of wine might break? And how come by the sukka, by using an animal as a wall, he's afraid that it may die? Isn't it a stira? Meaning, when is Meir worried about these things? And when is he now? When is he not worried about these things? So 4 lines from the top. So kasha de Rameir. It's a kasha from Rameir on Rameir. Rameir misa shchicha. Misa is more common. Which Rabbanan, right? Friday we said misa is not common. Right? So today we're Eipach parrots. We're flipping the shitas today. Today we're saying that Rameir says misa is more common. Bekiyas hanoid lo shchicha. Breaking up a flask or a wineskin, whatever it is, that's not shchiach. Why? Because after the masalei l'shomer, what you could do is you can hand over the flask to somebody to watch it, right? And if you watch it, he'll watch it for you to make sure that it doesn't break.
That's. I mean, I understand that if you never touch something, it's not going to break. There's no reason it should break. But he's being metapel with it the whole Shabbos.
So I guess maybe that's why he adds on the words that it's going to be that it give a shomer, right? Maybe that's why he's adding on the words to put a shomer on it.
Yeah, like Peretz took the first l'chaim. He says, "Don't let me touch that bottle, Moshe. Make sure Tati doesn't touch that bottle." Yeah,
right. Yeah. Right, so that's why it's not a stira. Kasha to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda is not a kasha, meaning where Rabbi Yehuda is not chayshid that the animal will die, but he is chayshid that the flask will break. So Rabbi Yehuda, the reason why he doesn't allow you to do this shtick of taking off truma and meiser on Friday night. So again, let's just back up for a second. We said that the way that works, it works with what we call breira, right? Where I'm gonna choose after Shabbos which parts of the wine are trumas and meiser, and limafreya retroactive, it's gonna kick in to Friday that it was separated on Friday night. So we were thinking that the reason why Rabbi Yehuda says that doesn't work is because we're afraid that the barrel may break and all the wine may spill, and then you won't have any wine left in order to take trumas and meiser from it. So the Gemara says no. Rabbi Yehuda just doesn't hold the breira. Time of the Rabbi Yehuda, lamashum the chayish the kiyas night, and lamashum the less like breira, because he doesn't hold the breira. He doesn't hold it. This whole concept of breira. Gemara says v'loy chayish Rabbi Yehuda the kiyas night. Are you saying that he's not concerned that you may break the barrel? But the Mikatani Seifa. And for this that we learned in the Seifa, Amrullah Rameir, they said to Rameir, yeah, Tamoida, you're not scared again. Rameir was not afraid that the flask may break. So they said to Rameir, yeah, Tamoida, Shemi Yivka Hanoid, aren't you Moida that the Noid may break? But Nim says that Shaisa Tvolim, the Mafreya. And we find that this guy is going to end up drinking Tavel Mafreya. And he said to them, the Shika Yivka. Meaning when it breaks, I'll worry about it. Which is basically Rashi says, he's saying, I'm not worried about it. As he says, when it breaks, you'll call me. Whatever it is, but that's Rabbi Yehuda asking to Rabbi Meir. If Rabbi Yehuda, that means it's clear that Rabbi Yehuda holds of breaking that the flask may break. Otherwise, why is he asking Rabbi Meir? You're not choshev for that it may break. If he himself is not choshev for it, why is he asking on Rabbi Meir? Right? At least that's what the Gemara is thinking in the Havamina now. Again, he says to Rabbi Meir, aren't you worried about that the flask may break? So that means he holds himself that the flask may break. So our answer is no. Hasam Rabbi Yehuda to come to Rabbi Meir. It's Rabbi Yehuda saying to Rabbi Meir, "Lididi Leslie Breira." According to me, I don't even hold the Breira. So this whole shtick of taking off Trumas and Mises on Friday night is not going to work. But according to you, the Yesh Breira, that there is such a thing as Breira. Wouldn't you be minded that the night may break? So basically, what the Gemara is saying, yes, the Rabbi Yehuda doesn't have to come on to even thinking about whether the flask breaks or not, because the whole thing doesn't start according to him, because he doesn't hold of this retroactive choosing. Yeah, fine. So now the Gemara
is this Machlokes based on the old Machlokes, Rabbi Yehuda with Chayish L'Miyuta? Remei is Chayish L'Miyuta. So
I would imagine, I would imagine that.
Right. So when it says before the Misa Shchicha, it doesn't mean the Misa Shchiach. It means it's a miyut that he's willing to be chayshish for. Whereas Yibaka Hanoid is so small a miyut that it's not as no chashash.
I could hear that. It's the same. Yeah.
That's a Yehuda's kasha here. You have to chayshish. You're chayshish for a miyut, so why do you be chayshish for Yibaka Hanoid?
Right.
He says no, it's too small.
That's what I would think. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Yeah. So then there was the loichai Rabbi Yehuda l'misa. Rabbi Yehuda is not chayish from misa, but Tanan Rabbi Yehuda Aimer af isha acheres naskin loy shemet tamas ishtay. We even give him another wife. Right? This is talking about the Yuma wasn't all that long ago, right? So first Mishna on Yuma says that we give the Kohen Gadol a new wife because we're afraid the Kohen Gadol always has to have a wife, so we're afraid that he's going to that she's going to die. So you see, Rabbi Yehuda is choshed for death. So Itmar Allah. So we answered on that. We learned Amar Rabbi Shua Maila Asa Kapara. They made a Maila by Kapara. That on Yom Kippur they made a Maila that we have to make sure we have to be more concerned because Yom Kippur is so important. Even though normally we're not afraid that the wife is going to die, but it's so important that we have to be concerned that their wife may die. Fine. So then Gemara says a different kasha. According to both Madamrim, whether it might die, right? Again, we said that there's a Machlokes. Why are you not allowed to use an animal as a wall? Either because the animal may run away, or because it may die and fall over. Right? So, but midaraisa it's considered a good mechitza. Rabbanu the gazer and the Rabbanu were gazer. Elamayata l'rameir titma b'shum goylo. So if that's the case, if that's the case, then Rabban the Elamayata Rameir titma b'shum goylo. It should become tummy because of goylo. There's a din. A goylo is a tombstone. Right, so we know a din that a tombstone gets automatic tumah, even though it doesn't touch anything. Right? So according to Rameir, it should become tummy because of goylo. Allah matan. Why do we learn in the Mishna? Rabbi Yehuda matama mishum goylo. Rabbi Yehuda says it's tummy because of goylo. Rabbi Meir matar. Rameir says it does not become a goylo. Why not? Because again, Rameir said you can't use the animal as a goylo. So if you did use the animal, it's not going to become tummy. But midaraisa, it should. Meaning what comes out is that Rameir is saying a leniency. It's one thing to make a chumrah d'Rabbanan and say that you can't use you can't use an animal as a wall for a sukkah, even though midaraisa you can. So you can make a d'Rabbanan l'chumrah. But that same chumrah if you apply it to a tombstone, is actually going to be a kula. Because since midairaisa, it could be a tombstone, which then means it becomes tameh. And Meir is going to say, no, it doesn't. It doesn't become tameh, right? Because he says it can't be a tombstone. If it can't be a tombstone, then it can't become tameh. So that
I don't
slugs
understand.
up.
You can use an animal as a tombstone.
Well, Rameir says you can't. Rameir says you cannot. But
Saying
theoretically, yeah.
Theoretically, anything you use for a tombstone could be makabel tumah, like a tree.
What?
Plant a tree as a tombstone that becomes makabel tumah.
Anything that's a tombstone becomes makabel tumah. An animal cannot be makabel tumah.
Do we have a case in Gittin about writing a get on a live animal or something like that?
Yeah, that's here also.
We mentioned it yesterday, 2 days ago.
You said I get my morning tomorrow morning.
What? What'd you say?
I missed it.
Okay, anyway, so that's
It's the same Machlokes as in Gittin, Michael. It's the same thing.
right. Yeah. So anyways, okay, so the Gemara says Ella, like we said, the rule with Ella always is that Ella means that the Gemara is going back and saying a new shot. So after going a whole block on saying what the reason is why an animal can't be, now the Gemara totally changes and says that's not the reason. Any mechitza that doesn't mean that's a medes beruach that we're going to learn on Amud Beis, that it doesn't blow in the wind and an animal won't blow in the wind. Right? It means the reason why it's standing is because it breathes. Ain't a mechitza. Right? So Rashi says ruach chaim is not bidei adam because ein ruach biyada lenafcha. It's not in his hand to breathe. Meaning breathing is done naturally. So what the Gemara is saying is that any mechitza that's medes beruach is not a mechitza because it's natural, it's not man-made. So it's not man-made, it can't be a mechitza. Meaning at least that a man could do something to it. Ikadamri, another version of this teretz. Amar Rav Acha bar Yaakov Kasavar Meir Kol mechitza she'ein asiyah b'dei adam ein a mechitza. That a mechitza that's not man-made is not a mechitza. Right now, these are similar tirutz. So maybe now, what's the difference between the two answers? Where you held up the wall with a noid, which we said is a flask or a wine skin that's blown up with air. The mandam mechitza medes ruach ain't a mechitza. According to the mandam, it says that a mechitza that's held up with air is not a mechitza. Harei medes beruach. This is being held up by air because the only thing that's holding up the wall of the sukkah is that you blew up this canteen or whatever it is, this wine flask that's made out of leather. So therefore, it's not going to be good. But according to the one that says it's not made b'dei adam, this is man-made because who blew the air into this leather wine flask and inflated it in order to make it as part of the wall of the sukkah. So therefore, that would be the difference between the two. So it comes out, bottom line is the maskanas advarim is that you cannot use a wall of a sukkah, something that had no human intervention to make the wall. Right? That's what comes out. Right? Yes, we'll see. Yeah, go ahead.
So if it's an animal from his corral, then he's the one who feeds it. But if he takes a wild ram, he goes to Engedi and takes a ram and he puts that ram to use his sukkah. He had nothing to do with that ram, but a ram he's growing on his farm for the shofar, so that he had what to do with it.
Yeah, so what do you mean?
So
Yeah,
one ram should be good and one ram should be no good for a wall.
What are you saying?
One ram he raised on his farm. And one ram he just captured in the wild, Arab sukkahs.
I don't know. Does it have to do with that, or is it just when you put it up on the wall, it's a problem?
I'm sorry. That's the way I understood what you said.
No, so it seems like if it's alive by breathing, that's not enough. That's one version of the teretz. The other
Okay.
version of the teretz is that it has to be human involved. Well, again, meaning I don't have it on. I don't understand it clearly because let's say I put my sukkah up against
in
the
order
bush.
to make it the wall, it has to be human involvement. The animal ain't staying here unless somebody ties it up.
Right, but the other sheet is going to say that it's a problem even if it's just an animal, even if you do hold up, because what's keeping it alive is breathing air, and that's not enough. Right.
Okay.
So what happens if you build a sukkah up with branches of a tree, which is really going to be on Amud base? So why is that called, according to the shita? Why is that okay? That's not bidei adam. No.
Yeah. I was going to ask you something else, but I'm not going to ask.
Because we'll see that. We'll see that later on the base. Fine. So Amar Mar.
You mean the Mishna Stein bidei adam v'achas be'ilan, or Stein be'ilan v'achas ba'adam?
Yeah. Or the next Mishnah. Oisus ukase beina ilanas.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Also,
what kind of
halachah ma'aseh we passing like R Yehuda, right? This is all in meir.
Yeah.
So if I go to a fair with my kids in Chalamayit, I take a mat, a sukka, a schach mat. I put it on top of a bouncy house, whatever they call them. There's 3 walls. One of those bouncy things the kids bounce on.
Oh, yeah.
Bounce house. Take a big mat, put it on top, and I have a sukkah. It'll be a Machlokes and meir whether that's the ruach or not, because it's inflated. But according to R Yehuda, that should be good.
Right.
But that would be the nafkamina today with the shita of meir, with these two opinions. If it's man-made or blown up.
Yeah. That's that. I guess maybe that's right. I hear. But I mean, their machine blew it up, right?
Yeah, but it's still the same thing. It's being held up because it's inflated. It's beruach.
Yeah.
That would be today's noid.
Right. No, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Maybe not. A noid you blow up with human air.
Technically, I could blow up one of those things with human air. It would just take me a very long time.
I know, but it's not. It's made an air made by a machine.
Does that make a difference? It's beruach. What's the difference if it's beruach or not?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. That's not your standard ruach.
Only the second one was Asiyu b'dei adam. The mechitza imens beruach has something to do with human ruach.
Right. I hear. I'm not sure. Okay, so let's see. So Amar, Shemu Yosef Glili Amru. We said the name of Yosef Glili. Afein person love gitei nashim. You're not allowed to write a get to a woman on an animal. My time is Yosef Glili. Why does Yosef Glili say that? The Tanya is safer. It says safer, right? The pasuk says safer creases. A man has a right to his wife, a safer of cutting off. So safer, ainly a safer. It only tells me that it has to be in a safer, let's say on parchment. And now the rabbi is called over. How do you know that it's coming to include anything else that you write it on? Because of law, which means mikol makom. So either way. So again, so safer tells you it's a safer, and law means mikol makom. You came out tam safer. If you're saying that cause of law means you could write or get on anything, so then what is safer telling you? Just like a safer. It's something that has no life in it. And it's not food. It has to be something that's not alive, doesn't have a ruach chayim, and it's not food. So therefore an animal is out. And Rabbanan, who hold that you could use an animal, what are they going to do? If you write for safer, Hashdich Sefer, this that it says Sefer, the Sfiras Dorim Ba'al Yehuda. So all it's coming to tell you, it means Sefer doesn't mean that you have to write in a Sefer. It means this is the way you write a get, and it goes on to explain exactly how you do a get. Okay, but then what do Rabbanan do? The Kasav law, what do they do with it? Rabbanan Hai V'Kasav my Darshive. What do they darshan with the word Kasav? Well, we buy that one they need it for B'Ksiva Miskareshes, Vena Miskareshes B'Kesev. That a woman gets divorced with writing a get, but not with kesef. Why? Why would you think that she would get divorced with money? We compare sending her out. Lahavaya means to bringing her in. Mahavaya b'kesef. Just like you marry a woman with money, af yitzia b'kesef. So too, divorcing her, you could also do with money. Kamash malan. Money doesn't work. You have to write her a get. Rabbi Yosef Glili. Hi svara minale, and Rabbi Yosef Glili, how does he know the svara that you don't divorce a woman with money? We sefer krisus nafkale. He learns it out from the word sefer krisus. Sefer karsa bein davar acher karsa. Only a sefer cuts her off, nothing else cuts her off. The idach and the rabbanon. What are you doing with the pasuk of sefer krisus? Homi bayale the davar hakairas beina leveina. It means something to cut her off between him and her. Meaning there can be no strings attached to this get. To the Tanya, like we learned in a Brisa, Areza Gite, Amanashalek Tishtayayin, this is your get, on condition that you don't drink wine. Bamanashalek Telki Lebesavich, and then the condition you never go to your father's house, La'ilam, forever, meaning he writes a get and says it's only a get if you never drink wine and you never go to your father's house. That's a string attached. Ein Ze Krisus, that's not a cutting off, but she's still attached to him. Right, kol shloishim yoyim. But if he says don't drink wine for 30 days, right, and don't go to your father's house for 30 days, then that is a full cutting off. It's just going to take 30 days. But after 30 days, she's completely cut off. Then it's a good get. Hareza krisis. Then that's a good get. So what's the other one? How are they going to learn this out? So mikaris krisis nafka, because the pasuk could have just said kasav lo sefer karis. Why do I have to say sefer krisus? Right? It's that it says an extra lashon karis, and therefore that tells us that you have an extra. There's something else to learn from it. What does the other one learn from that? Karis krisus like darsh. He says there's nothing to be there. You can't dash in karis krisus. Yeah, fine. Okay, that's the now. This next Mishna is one of the more contemporary issues with sukkahs that comes up. Yeah, so let's see. Mishna. If somebody makes a sukkah between the trees, and the walls are made out of trees, it's kosher. Now, this is not like the last Mishnah where the sukkah was made on top of the tree. This is just that you made the sukkah with trees. The walls were your trees. You laid schach down on top of trees, and the trees are your walls, right? Okay, so what is the practical out of this? Because of the Gemara. So the Gemara, Rav Acha bar Yaakov, Amar Rav Acha bar Yaakov, Kol mechitza she'eni yichol lamed beruach metzuya, eina mechitza. Any mechitza that cannot stand in a common wind is not a mechitza. Now, we're going to say, what do you mean? 2 days ago's Daf talked about the entire sukkah in the common wind. What's the Gemara talking about here? We already said that as long as it stays in a common wind, it was a machlokes if it means a common wind of the ocean or a common wind of the dry land. But either way, the Gemara says that if it can't stand in a common wind, then what's the problem? Right? So Rashi says that it's not talking about the sukkah is going to be knocked down. The sukkah is going to stay up. It's just that the walls are going to blow in the wind. It's not going to knock down the sukkah. Of course, if the wind is going to knock down the sukkah's puzzle. We're talking about if the wind will make the walls blow, right? So we're saying that it doesn't work. This is where it comes from, the issue with the canvas sukkahs, right? Because if the canvas sukkahs get blown in the wind and the walls of the canvas sukkahs are blowing, so it's a beferish Gemara. The Gemara says it doesn't work.
How much does it have to blow in order?
Us. That's an excellent question. So it doesn't say any shear. The Gemara doesn't say any shear. Right? Now the question is like this: does it actually have to blow in the wind, or even if it will theoretically blow in the wind? What the Gemara here is saying is that, let's say you put this sukkah outside in a normal wind, it's going to blow the walls. Then even if you take it and you hide it in between 3 apartment buildings or 4 apartment buildings where there's no wind whatsoever, it's still going to be puzzle. Meaning it's not a practical thing. What the Gemara is saying, I mean, it is practical, but saying if the mechitzas blow in the wind, then if they would theoretically blow in the wind, then no matter where you put it, even though they don't actively blow, it's going to be a problem, right?
What's the,
So why is the,
how much does it have to blow?
So there's a Chazanish. The Chazanish says that it has to blow 3 tvachim in each direction, meaning 3 tvachim this way or 3 tvachim that way. If it blows anything less than that, then it's fine.
So then that means we don't need those gartels that they sell with the sukkahs because it's not moving that much.
well, those are the lover straps?
That's for so before we
That's
get to
something else.
that's the reason why they put the loved straps is in case you put the sukkah in a place that the wind would blow. But you're right, Jesse. If it's not going to blow, if it's
There's
not
no
gonna
way
blow,
it's
you
going
don't
to
need
be able to
gloves.
blow 6 tvachim.
No,
One way
No.
through the other.
It would depend where you put it.
Jesse.
Right, 3 tvachim this way and 3 tvachim that way. There's no way the material is loose enough that it's going to go, that it has that much movement.
Right.
The old ones have.
So the thing is like this. You see, look at the Rashi, the first Rashi in the Gemara says, Sharuch Ma'licha u'Mavia. If you go with Rashi, it's just saying that the wind blows it. There's no measurement given in Rashi. Sounds like according to Rashi, there is no measurement.
Even a
Chazanish,
mashu? Even according to even a mashu?
can hear you.
According to Rashi, even a mashu?
It's got to have some give to it. It has to have some give to it, but I don't know what the shear would be according to Rashi. Right? The Chazanish says that the blowing is not the issue. It's if it blows it so much that it goes more than 3 tvachim, then it's an issue. Karada, I got this shaila, believe it or not, yesterday right before Shabbos from one of the camps. Right? One of the camps, they have a netting to protect, the balls from going on the street. So they put up a net on the edge and they use that net as an Arab. So they asked if that net could be used as an Arab if it's not tied down. So the answer was today's daf. Does it blow in the wind? Does it not blow in the wind? Right? If it would be blow in the wind, then it's a price. Says no, it absolutely does not blow. Okay, so then it's a mechitza. Right? It's beferish. But anyway, so according to the Chazanish, it's not clear exactly according to Rashi what it is. But according to the Chazanish, it's it would have to blow 3 tvachim in each direction, in which case, like Jesse said, there's no way it's blowing that much, and therefore you won't need it. But anyways, of course, with machmer nowadays, like this, they get you the lovage straps every 9 inches, and that's a kosher wall, regardless of whether your canvas flaps in the wind, and that takes care of that whole issue. Okay, so Gemara is going to ask a bunch of kashas on this. Now we learned in the Mishna, if you make your sukkah in between trees, and the walls are the trees are the walls, sheira, it's kosher. So Gemara says, every tree moves. Right? No such thing as a tree that doesn't move, at least in the Havamina. So our answer is, it's talking about a old tree that don't, these old stubborn trees that don't move. So it says, but you have the branches that they're going to move. But what happened is that they put branches and little, they stuffed it with little branches. So therefore it wouldn't blow in the wind. Okay, so what's the chiddush? Of course that's sukkah walls kosher. Now the same we thought maybe if you're gonna use a wall of a tree as a wall, maybe you're gonna end up hanging your hat on the tree, which is also. Maybe you'll end up leaning on the wall, which is also. which really you're not allowed to do to any sukkah. So I don't know exactly what the chashash would be, but right, the most should be Elon. Kamash Malon. So the Torah teaches us, no, we're not concerned with that. Right? Fine. So
But if you're trying to get past someone else's seat and you brush against the wall, a sukkah that's mutter and a tree, it should be usher.
What are you saying?
So the wall is usher to use to lean on because it's muktzah. But if something like I'm someone's sitting next to the wall, I'm trying to get to my seat. There's a little space between the back of his seat and the wall. I can brush against the wall. If the wall is made of tree, I can't do that.
Right.
What's the difference?
There's still a case.
What's the
Because
difference?
the tree is a gzeira, I can't use it. You can't touch a tree. You can't do anything with a tree. The wall of a sukkah, I'm not using. I'm brushing against. I can't brush against the tree. That's part of the same issue.
Right.
Nothing to do with the sukkah.
If you can't brush against the tree, then don't use the tree for a wall of your sukkah. It's just a little advice.
That's what the Gemara is saying. The Hava Mina is you can still use it. You have to be careful not to do anything. But you can still use it.
Right.
Right. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what this gezeira is. Right?
Brushing against the tree is considered ishtamushe?
No.
That's only in Cleveland it is. I don't ever heard of it.
No, I'm just saying, I don't know. Is brushing against it, I'm just saying for half a second is called ishtamushe?
No, that's not. All right, so let's see. I don't know. Let's see what. So Tashma, Hayeshamila no geder, Hay mechitza konem, Nidan mishum diumid. Remember, we said that the diumid is that a diumid means 2 amudim, which is basically as long as you have a tefa, what you do is in order to feed the animals from a well, so they made a special cooler that on all 4 corners you put 90-degree angles, 4 L-shaped on each corner, 4 L-shaped pieces of wood. Each one has a tefach, right? And that would allow you to carry inside it. So even if the wood itself is not L-shaped, as long as it has the ability to be chiseled out and become an L-shape, it's fine. So so you use it for diumid. Wow, what do you mean? It's going to shake, right? It's going to shake in the wind. So we say, no, you did it with, you put in branches of these trees, and that would take care of it. Yes, the Toshima again. This is talking about like a weeping willow tree. But you know what? It's a whole sugya. That's a whole sugya. Let's stop here. We'll do this tomorrow. Yeah. Okay. A good tavach and a good yah.
Good tavach. Good yah.
All right.
Good luck. Thank you.
All right. Quiet night tonight.
Yeah, it was.
What do you want to be?